Ubisoft has what could be possibly the best brand new multiplayer game being released in the last several years here very soon. And the great thing is that the developers have been keeping the community a part of that process since day one. And that journey has brought us through the public test session where the community got to play the game early on PC to test out some of the new changes and fixes that they've added to their brand new IP. Do you want to know what they fixed? If you do, then give this video a like. Can we hit 200? My name is Buckeye, and welcome to XDefiant Guides. For you XDefiant fans out there, you guys have been going through it for a while now. The last time we got to play XDefiant was in the open beta session, which was back in June of 2023. Well, it's now October, and that's been a bit. That's been a bit since we've got our hands on the game, especially considering the fact that the game was originally supposed to be coming out in late summer 2023, and now we have officially surpassed that time frame. And we haven't had our hands on the game since June. Now, when that happened, it was amazing. The game was available for a few days across Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC, and millions of people played the XDefiant open beta session. This was also during a time frame when Modern Warfare 2 was really in a lull. People were not really happy with where Call of Duty was at the time. And even to this day, still people are not excited and happy where MW2 is, but to a lesser extent that they were back in June. XDefiant back in June was in a really perfect spot. People weren't happy with Call of Duty. XDefiant came out in their open beta session, and it was really, really good. It was really fun. There were absolutely problems and things that needed to be adjusted and fixed, but the game was really good, and people fell in love with XDefiant back in June. And since then, we have been in the submission process. Since August, XDefiant has been in the submission process, and the thing that is different with XDefiant versus other games is with other games, they typically set their release date far in advance to give themselves enough time to go through the submission process, and then they never actually tell the community what that submission process looks like. So the thing with XDefiant is they are being incredibly transparent about every step of their process, which means we are getting to see everything that's happening with the submission process, and knowing that it failed its first submission, even though it's a very common practice for situations like this, most of the time people don't actually know that that's happening with their new favorite game. But the thing that we have to remember is that when we played the open beta session in June, that was a true beta, not a demo, which a lot of other games typically do. Here coming up very, very soon, we've got the beta for Modern Warfare 3, which is going to be a month before the game actually launches. You could assume that that's more along the lines of a demo rather than a beta. Now, they do have significantly more developers at Call of Duty, so they can make changes a little bit faster, but still the point stands. What we got to play in June was a beta. And then in August, them going into the submission process, this has been a very tumultuous experience for XDefiant and the fans over the last several months. And you guys have been along with the ride so far as we've been trying to get closer and closer to launch of XDefiant. And if you want to join in with everybody else in the community, then subscribe to this YouTube channel because I got brand new videos and live streams for XDefiant coming very, very soon. But all of this has happened, and it has resulted in XDefiant being delayed. It has officially been delayed. Mark Rubin has been telling us every step of the way that they're working at it, they're working at it, they're working at it. But unfortunately, it has missed the original launch window of late summer 2023. We are officially in fall. It is October now. It is no longer summer. We have officially gone through a delay with XDefiant. Now, the other thing to consider with that is we are in a delay. The expectation, based off the last thing that Mark Rubin was talking to us about, is that the game will probably be coming in mid-October. Now, there has been some recent leaks or rumors floating around in the Twitter sphere from some relatively reasonable sources suggesting that XDefiant may be coming on October 17th, assuming that nothing bad necessarily happened in the public test session, which I personally don't think that that would have anything to do actually with the submission of the game, because that is a completely different build of the game than the actual submission build. So take that with a grain of salt. But even still, the game has been delayed. We are now in the October timeframe. We're looking at the next couple of weeks potentially being when we're actually going to get XDefiant, which is problematic because now we've got Modern Warfare 3 entering their beta on PlayStation and then on Xbox and PC as well. The whole marketing swing for Modern Warfare 3 is happening right now. It is underway. So XDefiant coming out right now, they've got a very small window of time to drop and be able to succeed initially. Otherwise, they're going to be having a very uphill battle, and they're going to be playing the long game, which, to be fair, I think from the start, they've already been playing the long game. They have not been relying on their launch numbers for the future success of the game. I think that they've been trying to develop a grassroots community from the beginning, and they're sticking to that. My only question is going to be, what does that look like here this month? Because if they launch this month during the MW3 beta, that's going to be a little weird. I don't think that's a smart idea. We'll see what happens, but I think the best thing to do would actually be to launch right after the beta, which October 17th actually is a pretty perfect date, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, with all that being said, that is what we have experienced with XDefiant up until now. Believe it or not, there's actually more to it in terms of launch success than just when it launches. Here's the thing. If XDefiant were to launch today and it would be absolutely broken, it wouldn't make a difference that it's launching before the MW3 beta because the game's going to be broken. People are going to play it for a day or two. They're going to realize that all of these problems exist and it's not a good time to play. And guess what? That's going to hurt itself even more when Modern Warfare 3 comes out. Because here's the thing, Modern Warfare 3, whether you like it or not, it's going to come out, and generally speaking, it's not going to have all the unbelievable game-breaking bugs that other games may have on launch. I think Battlefield 2042 is a really good example of that. It may come out and people may not love the gameplay, or they may not love the fact that it's all original MW2 maps. They may not like that, but at the end of the day, you can trust that Modern Warfare 3 is going to play correctly for the most part. So when you have XDefiant over here that's trying to launch already in the window of time that Modern Warfare 3 is launching, and then if the game is absolutely broken, things don't work, the stuff is just not working the way it's supposed to, it's already got an uphill battle, then if it's broken, it's basically signing its own death sentence. So the fact is, XDefiant does need to fix a lot of the problems. It does need to launch cleanly. It does need to have all the bugs and all those things cleaned up before it launches, because if it launches now during the MW3 launch window, it's going to have a difficult time. But if it works, then people's perception of the game is going to remain positive, even if it launches during Call of Duty. And that is going to be super important for the game in the long term, because we've already known how this works. The Call of Duty hype cycle always gets going around this time, and then once we get to around the new year, it starts to fall off again. That, in my opinion, is what XDefiant really needs to be shooting for. They need to shoot for launching cleanly right now and really gaining an audience around the new year timeframe. That's what I personally think. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think about that. But at the end of the day, the point is XDefiant needs to launch in a fixed state. It doesn't need to be broken when it launches. That is going to be incredibly important. Now, when the game does in fact launch, you can guarantee yourself that I'm going to be playing the game here on YouTube, live streaming, and on my Twitch. You can check out my Twitch, which is where I'm going to be live streaming moving forward, YouTube and Twitch. You can check out that link in the description. Now, we just got our opportunity to play the public test session for XDefiant this past week for 6 hours, which was a very interesting time frame, a very small pocket of time, very odd, but very happy and appreciative nonetheless that we got the opportunity to play XDefiant once again, because it's been so long since we got to play the open beta session. Finally being able to jump back into the game for even 6 hours was very, very awesome. And there were a number of fixes, a number of changes that happened in the public test session that I noticed. You guys can let me know if you noticed more in the comments, but what I was able to pick up on, these were some really cool things. A couple of key things that Mark let us know that they did in fact improve for this public test session was hit registration and latency. Personally, for me specifically, I had a great time with hit registration and latency. I did not notice a lot of problems with that whatsoever. Now, with that being said, there were a lot of people that I saw online, both in the comment section of videos, the chat on streams and on Twitter and on Reddit, that were saying that hit reg and latency was still scuffed a little bit. For me, though, it was great. I didn't have any problems. I didn't experience any lag. I didn't experience any ghost bullets or anything like that. I did share a clip where I was shooting somebody into a window, and I thought that there was no window there because it wasn't very clear. So it looked like the hit registration wasn't working at all, but in fact, I was just shooting a window. So that was kind of funny, but not indicative of anything related to hit registration. Now, something that was brand new to this public test session that was really, really cool, and I think was a huge fix from what we've had in the past with XDefiant, was a brand new faction select screen. So when you load into your game, the first thing you're going to be prompted to is to select your faction. A far, far better selection screen, in my opinion, than what we had before. It really separates itself from the rest of the selection process, grabbing your loadout and then jumping into the match. It looks really, really good. I'm very happy with how that turned out personally. That's a huge fix. Additionally, and this is a little more broad, it's not very specific, but playing the game felt more fluid to me. It felt a little smoother than what it did in the open beta session, and in conjunction with that, playing on controller on PC actually felt a lot better as well. The open beta session felt extremely clunky on controller on PC. It was a huge adjustment for me. It took me quite a while to really get adjusted to it. When you go from Modern Warfare 2 over to XDefiant, it's a huge difference. The fluidity of the controller is extremely different. I got used to it in the open beta session. In this public test session, it already felt way better. It was less clunky to me. It was way easier to use. The controls worked smoothly. The aiming was a lot better. This is my experience personally. To me, this was fixed for the public test session. And again, this is a public test session. This is not the actual build of the game that we're going to be playing on the live servers. So who knows what's actually going to be there for the live servers, but in what we experienced with this, for me, this was fixed. Now, another really cool thing that they added to the game, this isn't a fix, but it's an additive to the game, was a brand new weapon called the MDR. I loved this assault rifle. It was a really awesome middle point between using something like an ACR, which is a long-range gun, and an MP7, which is a short-range gun. The MDR kind of dominated the middle ground, if that makes sense. It allowed for a lot of good movement, but also really packed a punch with each round that it fired. I really enjoyed using the MDR, and I can't wait to hop back into the game once it launches and really find a nice sweet spot build with the MDR, because it was really, really fun. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the MDR. I thought it was a really dope assault rifle, and I can't wait to use it again. Now, I know that the public test session was not perfect for everybody, and a lot of these fixes that I'm talking about in this video here were not exactly fixes for other people, and I understand that. So let me know in the comments your guys' experience with the public test session. Do you think that the game was scuffed? Do you think that it was improved? Do you think that it was fixed? Do you agree with what I listed off here in terms of fixes to the game? For me, it played really, really well, and I was extremely happy with my experience in the public test session, and I hope that this is going to be indicative of what we're going to get in the live servers of the game. And I'll tell you, it's extremely important that XDefiant does continue making these fixes and these changes to the game moving up to launch, because they've got a big uphill battle against Modern Warfare 3 coming very, very soon. And I'll tell you what, Modern Warfare 3 is absolutely gunning for XDefiant. They've got a plan to kill XDefiant, and if you want to know what that plan is, then check out this video on screen now.